Hi, my name is Dave Lipscomb, and I'm here to explain my best lessons 1 through 3 of 6M6 for Eureka Math or Engage New York. So let's talk about this package, which are these 3 lessons, which talk about statistics. They specifically talk about what are statistical questions and how to make dot plots. So without further ado, let's switch over to my magic screen, and here we go. Let's start. Well, we're not going to start here. This is on kind of page 2. Let's go back to page 1, and let's talk about. So again, we're talking about statistics and data plots. So the question is what are statistical questions? So a statistical question is one that has multiple responses to a given question. So what does that mean? This isn't a perfect definition. Not a perfect definition, but we're going to use it as a working definition. So if I ask a question like how old am I? That is not a statistical question because it's not multiple responses to a given question. So not how old is Mr. Lipscomb. That is not a statistical question. That is not, because it's one answer. Because it's only one answer. So, but yes, if we asked a question like, what are the ages of the students at my school? So this would be, this is a statistical question because it has multiple responses. Now notice that you would even have, if I had all the students in grade 8 and they were all 13 years old, it would still be a statistical question if I said, what are the ages of the students in 8th grade, even if every single one of them is 13, because I would have multiple responses, okay? So let's just be clear about that. Now let's ask a different question. There's two kinds of statistical questions, or at least 2 ways to differentiate them. We have numerical statistical questions, and then we have categorical. And these are both statistical questions. A numerical statistical question is like this one above. The answers are numbers. So the ages, the heights of the students at my school, the salaries of ages, heights. These are all numerical questions. Categorical questions are different, but they're still statistical. They can be statistical if we said like your favorite ice cream, because that might be like vanilla or chocolate or strawberry. These are categorical because they're not numerical. They're just responses that don't fall as numbers. So numerical and categorical, the 2 big types of questions. You can probably think of examples of categorical questions and numerical questions, and there's infinite numbers of each one. So let's go a little bit deeper, and let's talk about looking at some data. And so here's a statistical question. I asked all of the teachers in the upper school or in the middle school at my school, how many pieces of pizza do you usually eat for dinner? And I had one person said one, so one said 5, I had two, another person said 3, another person said 2. And notice I got one response from every teacher. And if you look at the total number of responses, you can tell that there are 17 teachers, 17 teachers that I polled. Okay, I asked 17 teachers because I have 17 responses. Now, one key thing to say is that when you have 17 responses, a statistical way of saying that I had 17 responses is you say this number n equals 17. That's the mathematical way. This is a mathematical way of saying that's the number of responses. So if I'm looking, now let's look, we're going to look at one common way to represent data. Now, it's kind of hard to look at the data 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1 and make sense of this data. Like it's hard to kind of look at it and say, what is the most common response? Well, I see some 1s and 2s and maybe some 3s, but it's hard to just look at this list and see what's the most common answer. And then also, what is the middle response? And what is a typical response? What's the middle response or a typical response to this question? Okay. Another question you might want to ask is what range contains the most answers? If I want to kind of pick a high and a low that comprises almost all of the answers, it's kind of hard. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2. Kind of hard to see where the low is. And does it include 3 or 4? I'm not sure by just looking at the data this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a box plot. And this, sorry, not a box plot. What am I doing? This is wrong. It's going to be a dot plot. We're going to do a box plot later. Today we're going to do a dot plot. Dot plot. Box plots are later. We'll do that in less than 12 or something like that. So a dot plot is easy. So the way I make a dot plot is I'm going to find the lowest number and the highest number. So the lowest number here is a 1, and the highest number here is an 8. I can kind of see that. So I'm going to make a line, nice straight line, and I'm going to put some marks on it, and I'm going to make it at even intervals. And I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to start, you don't have to start at the lowest number. In fact, I don't like to always start at the lowest number. I like to start usually one less. So 0, 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to keep counting up until I get up to my highest number. And then maybe I'll go one more. 7, 8, 9. I'll just go to 0 through 10. Okay. Now, the way that we make a dot plot is that we simply make a dot for each value in our list. So let's go through. There's a couple ways to do it. I could just start at 1 and then go 5, then 2. So we could go like 1, and then we're going to cross it off. Then we'll go 5, cross it off. I'll make a little X below it so that it's easier to continue to see. 2. Now I'm going to say, you know, that's kind of the long way to do it. I can say, well, okay, I got a 3, a 2, and a 1. So let's just do all 3 of those at once. A 3, a 2, and a 1. 3, a 2, and a 1. This is a way to speed it up. All right, I got a 1, a 6, and a 2. I'll make a 1, a 6, and a 2. And you can kind of see that I'm starting to represent my data down here in an easier to see fashion. Okay, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, and then I got 2, 2, 2, 2, and then I got 4 and 8. 4 and 8. Now we have a nice visual representation of all of my data. I can easily answer these questions. What is the most common response? Well, the most common response is 2. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2. I have 6 2s. 6. I have 6 of them. So 6 people said 2. I can look up here in the data and make sure that I'm not crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So I had 6 of those. What is the middle response? Well, the middle response is somewhere in here. We're going to mathematically find the middle response, but it's definitely not over here, and it's definitely not over here. The middle response might be somewhere in here. It's either going to be a 2, or it's going to be a 2 or a 3. It's going to be somewhere in there is the middle response. And so maybe I could just circle the 2 and the 3 and know that that definitely is the middle. And what range contains the most answers? Well, the range that contains almost all of the answers is 1 and 2, because that's 10 of my 17 responses, 6 plus 4. So we can also look at this data and we can tell that it's not symmetric. It kind of looks like this. Kind of has a long tail to the right. We kind of make a picture, and that's also called skewed right. No, that's just data skewed to the right. Here, let me just get rid of this. We'll say the data is skewed to the right. Okay, and that's how we make our dot plots. We can do some other, so we've answered a bunch of questions. You can also do things like find what's the high and the low. You can quickly see, well, here's the high number. High is 8. We can easily find the low number. Well, there's no zeros, but there is a 1. So the 1, the low, is 1. Easily answered on our dot plots. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to look at frequency plots next, and maybe some histograms. But for right now, I'm going to wrap up. I'll wrap up this lesson and say this was. We'll come back to here, and we'll just wrap this thing up, and we'll say goodbye for now. This was lessons 1 through 3 of 6M6, and stay tuned. And we're going to again get into frequency plots, histograms, some box plots, and some more numerical analysis in a few of these other.